program is brought to you by FanDuel, where we give sports fans the chance to win every day.
Yeah, man. The Pelicans lose again. They lose another fourth quarter at home. Let's talk about it.
First took away. Yes, but this. Get your money's worth now.
Welcome to another episode of Pro Pels Talk. I am your host here, Chris Connor. Got my dog, my OG here, Grub, holding us down here, man. Shout out to all the good people that support us here. John Deere, Sunshine. We got FanDuel, and we got Scott Vignier as always. And of course, we got the chat, man. Hit the like button now. Y'all ain't got to do it later. First off, my dog Grub, how you feeling, brother?
I mean, it's another tough night for the Pels, man. You know, you just cannot get over that hump, and it's so many little things that it looks like it's one thing. And I know we're probably gonna talk about the fourth quarter, but it's a lot of little things that just happen up over the course of the game that come in and bite them in the behind in the end every night.
Well, Peyton Watson being one of those guys, you know, I believe his highest scoring game earlier in the season also happened against the Pelicans, also happened in New Orleans. And then tonight, he follows that up with his second highest scoring game, which I believe finished 31. I think the most he scored in the last matchup in New Orleans was 32. So 1 point short. I mean, who's counting? Yeah, man. I mean, another game where, you know, it seemed like the Pelicans had the upper hand. I mean, they surely had the upper hand from a talent perspective with all the people with, you know, players that were questionable coming into the game for the Nuggets and the people that ultimately missed. But Jamal Murray, 35 and 9. Aaron Gordon still working his way back. He had 16 and 7. You saw Pickett in the starting lineup with 16. Tim Hardaway, 18 off the bench. But outside of Tim Hardaway, there's no one else there. Bruce Brown, 4 and 2. No one else scored. So, yeah, man. I mean, the game in a lot of ways, you know, I think was for the taking for the Pelicans. Just they can't find a way to close fourth quarters. Zion, pedestrian performance, 5 of 12 for the night, 12, 7, and 4, was in foul trouble most of the night. But Trey Murphy, who also had 5 fouls, ended up with 31. Sadiq Bey's first game back. But let me keep it simple. I mean, to start, from your perspective, Grub, what goes wrong for this team specifically in the fourth quarter? Like, what changes? What are you seeing? What works? What doesn't? Why can't they close basketball games?
You know, the simple thing to say is the game gets more deliberate in the fourth, and you've got to go to someone. And you see what other teams do. Denver, every time down, the ball went through Murray. You either had to force it out of his hands with a double, but they were going to find a way for him to touch it. Whether they had to force it into him, whether they had to dribble handoff, whatever, they got him the ball and let him make the decisions. The Pelicans don't have anybody who's willing to assert themselves with the basketball in the fourth quarter. Jeremiah Fears is not capable of doing that right now. Trey Murphy shouldn't be doing that in the fourth quarter. So the person you're counting on to do that is Zion, right? But he refuses to vary what he's doing. So he didn't get to the free throw line in the fourth quarter. The shots that he did take, he tries to throw up a left-handed, floater that just doesn't hit the rim, basically. So if you're not and even Antonio Daniels talked about this night, that his unwillingness to just pull up every now and then, just pull up. It's not even shoot the three. It's just pull up, get a jump stop, survey the defense, take the jumper or kick it back out. And then when he's supposed to be there to close the game. That's where he's supposed to separate himself. That combination of efficiency, the ability to get to the rim, and the ability to set up shots for others. You didn't see any of that in the fourth quarter. And then again, I think another part of it is, what kind of shots are you generating? We've talked about this for years, the corner three. How many did the Pelicans take tonight? How many did they take tonight? And then on top of that, then you had the third part is that the shooting in general. You made, 11 threes tonight? 8 of them came from 2 guys. So it's even with Poole and Trey getting both shooting a good percentage down the stretch, where were those shots? Those attempts were not there down the stretch. So everything that you did in the first 3 quarters, you stopped doing in the fourth quarter. We've seen that the last 2 games. Orlando, And then tonight, it's been the exact same thing. They do not have any leadership in the fourth quarter. No one wants to assume that role of creating shots. So they all look at each other. You see it. They're all looking at each other like, who's going to do what? The clock winds down, and then they're just trying to score in the last 5 seconds of the shot clock.
Yeah, and Grub, I thought one of the things that did work for them, was the pick and roll action between Zion and Trey, with Trey being the ball handler. It gets them, it opens up one layup for them, and it gives them another opportunity that Trey openly misses. But if he takes like the little 10-foot runner, or pulls up for midi, I mean, he's gonna get the easier shot that maybe shouldn't have taken a drive. But that opened up a little bit there. It's not the traditional opportunities to where, like you say, you open up a corner look that either swings the ball around to an open shooter on a rotating defense, or just opens up the shot based off of the attention that the driver, Zion being a roller and Trey having the ball is gonna attract. You didn't necessarily, get that opportunity. But I am interested in this. I mean, there is somebody that no matter what he's shooting, will look to attack late in these games. Jordan Poole. Now, prior to the Orlando game, has been playing awful for a little bit. Broke out, finally looked a little bit more like himself last game. And this game as well, I think, in the 20 minutes he played pretty well. Played a little bit in the fourth quarter, but then late you see Jordan Hawkins closing the game. What'd you think about that? In fact, I think Jordan Hawkins played more minutes than Jordan Poole. What'd you think about Borrego going with Hawkins late versus, a guy in Jordan Poole you're paying $30 million, who's, maybe breaking out of his spell, as sorts. And, again, could have been one of those guys that were at least willing to take a shot down the stretch.
I think the problem has been that in the last couple games and in the fourth quarters, that's where Poole's worst turnovers have been. And I think that's what Borrego's looking at too. And the turnovers killed the Pelicans tonight again. But I think that's what he's looking at. It's like, if you're going to put Fears out there, or if you're going to put Queen out there, or whatever, you can't have so many guys who turn the basketball over. And I think also we know too, the Poole Zion minutes have not worked. So down the stretch, I think it's those combinations, and you're hoping that when it does kind of work, you can play them together. But tonight it didn't really work again. Poole had good moments. Zion didn't have any moments. Then you put Zion in the fourth quarter to give him his opportunity, and he couldn't do it. But I think, what's Borrego to do? It's like that's the problem with the construction of this team, because if you go for points, then you probably can't defend with this group. And if you go with guys who are going to defend a little bit better, then you're probably not going to score points. So against a team that's just smart, like that's what the Nuggets were. They're just smart. And the Pelicans are not smart as a collective. And so if you run up against a team that's just going to continue to do what it does, like you said, it wasn't that they got overwhelmed by talent tonight. They got overwhelmed by talent. They got overwhelmed by execution, because the Nuggets didn't turn the ball over, right? The Pelicans made more free throws. Pelicans were right there. They had killed them in points in the paint, which you had to do tonight. You beat them on the glass. You beat them on the offensive glass. But where'd you fail? Too many turnovers, points off turnovers, and you didn't shoot enough from the outside. You still can't crack that 30 mark. So it's those little things that just over the course of the game, we can focus on the fourth quarter, but it's over the course of the game, just little things, points that you leave on the table, turnovers that you make at the wrong time. When they turn it over, 4 out of 5 possessions at one point? Like, those are the things that kill you, because you've got a chance to pull away, and they don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, the Nuggets only turned the ball over 7 times tonight. Pelicans turned the ball over 15 times. Yeah, I mean, let's see. Fears had 4 turnovers. I mean, Trey and Fears had 8 by themselves. Poole had 3. Derek Queen only had 1. Zion had a couple. But yeah, man, I mean, it's with this team, a lot of times it is the little things. And then when you get to a stretch to where when it's crunch time and maybe you're all bought in and you're taking every single possession seriously, you may not get the same breaks that you would have gotten earlier in the game. There were back-to-back possessions where late in that fourth, the Pelicans played pretty good defense on Jamal Murray. Zion goes for a strip. I think he ultimately has him losing someone losing the ball. It was Aaron Gordon, actually. Aaron Gordon. Jamal picks it up and shoots a last second, shot clock runner off one leg. Off script, you can't do anything about that, but those are the breaks that you ultimately don't get if you're able to put together a full game or full half, of consistent. And that's the thing, with this team, that we see is just, it comes and goes. They sometimes play like, you would think that they have 30 wins and not a team that has over 30 losses. The next possession, something similar. They do a good job of getting, look, Peyton Watson had 30 tonight, but if you get the ball out of his hand, you get the ball out of Gordon's hand. Pickett shoots the ball well. If you're not giving up a shot to him, if Peyton Watson chooses to not take a three and beat you off the dribble, you take it. Well, what does he do? Takes you off the dribble late, and he hits a turnaround fadeaway jumper for 2 more points. But, again, if you take care of some of the possessions earlier in the game and you are able to take advantage of when you have a team, it's like the Orlando game. You had Orlando dead to rights. You can't be the reason that the other team comes back. These teams are going to make shots. Orlando has some talented players that are going to make shots. Even while injured, Denver has some shot makers there, but you can't assist them and help them along the process with consistent beating yourself. And, we've seen that many times this year and many times really over this Zion Williamson led era or stretch, not necessarily with him, but just the lack of detail overall by a lot of key players, man.
I mean, this is a stars league, right? And your stars have to play like stars. And you look at the first half for Trey, right? Everything's going well. He had 11 shot attempts in the first half. He's getting shots from three. They're working. He's getting the ball off from without dribbling at all. They're throwing some good passes to him in the paint. He's finishing above the rim. Then the third quarter, where are the shots? You know what I'm saying? Like, you would think that you say, guys, we got to keep this going. We got to keep feeding Trey, keep looking for him. And then the shots weren't there, and they weren't there for Zion. They weren't there for Poole. There were no real shot. And you played a decent third quarter overall, but the vibe was different. It did not carry over from what you saw in the first half. The tempo wasn't the same. Again, these nights where Queen, with the offense where he stops going downhill. When it's like, and we talked about this, I think, a couple weeks ago, where he stays at the top and he's just looking for that perfect pass. And it's like, man, these are rookie things, but put the ball on the floor and attack earlier. And if you have to back it out and find that secondary pass, okay, but early in the clock, you want to see him continuing to put the ball on the floor and attack.
Yeah. And I guess what's interesting, about something you said earlier in the show about leadership, you need, this team misses an organizer. I used to think, for a while, that a point guard would do them really well. It's not even the fact that it's just a point guard. Like, you need more people that know the right play that needs to be made, even when it doesn't involve them. Because it can't just come from coach. It can't just come from, it can't just come from mom and dad. It can't just come from, your teacher. But like, these players are like you need players, the people that are around these guys consistently, they spend the most time with, to be able to call this shit out as well. Like, hey, he's cooking. I don't even care what coach called here. He got to get a shot here. Or what happens ultimately is the player takes it on himself to go find his shot eventually. You just got a bunch of guys just looking at each other, looking for direction. Ain't nobody saying nothing. If you got something that's been working consistently, that's, specifically with Trey, we see the off ball moving a lot. It's been it's been a good development for him this year with his movement off the ball. We've seen him get so many easier looks. Some of that is due to Derek Queen, but I've seen Jose throwing some good passes. I've seen Zion throwing some good passes. I've seen others, I've seen Jeremiah Fears even throw him a couple, but it's, that leadership element is serious, man, to where you got to state the obvious. Like, look, Zion, he ain't got to go in tonight. He in foul trouble. He's not really aggressive, but he looks lackadaisical, and you can say that a lot of times for him. But energy was lacking outside of a few possessions defensively. When Murray makes that shot late in the fourth, you see Zion yell "fuck." That's the most energy I saw out of him. Right, that was it. But you need somebody in that particular moment to say, okay, our best Trey. Nobody else touches this basketball the rest of this night but Trey Murphy. Even if Zion had all of his energy, Aaron Gordon is typically someone that gives him trouble. Aaron gives a lot of people that are in that six, a lot of wings, a lot of fringe power forwards, trouble. The matchup is Trey on the perimeter. Get on the ball, run actions through him, pick and rolls, use him and Derek Queen. That should be the way this game closes. It's what they did. If this was the Orlando game yesterday, where a couple nights ago, was Zion played a little bit better? Cool. We weren't here tonight, but it can't just come from Borrego, Grubb, and that leads to, I'm curious if you're the rookies on this team, how long is it before, you're able to be in a position like that? And I'm saying, even for this year, we don't know what's being said or what's not being said, but how long is it before these guys are speaking up a little bit more and stating the obvious, if that is ultimately in their game? And then how long is it before it's actually being, I guess, listened to? Because they are the future right now. They are spending a lot of minutes on the floor. They are closing these games. One of them is a point guard, and one of them, and Derek Queen, has guard-like skills at his size. Or are they just a long way away from that due to the talent and due to where they are right now as rookies?
See, here's the problem with these particular rookies trying to call somebody out. Neither one of them is good enough on the other end of the floor. So that's the thing, is whoever does the calling out has to be somebody who you can't impugn. You know what I mean? Like, about the only person who could say anything is Herb or Jose, but they're the wrong ones to say it.
Yep.
Like, the middle manager can't try to get everybody together. You know what I'm saying? Like, the guy who works the midday shift at McDonald's can't be the crew chief. Somebody else who's working it during the rush, whatever. Like, and I think that's just the problem. The most vocal Pelicans have always been guys, and we've seen this throughout the Zion tenure too. It's always guys who don't play. The most vocal players for 7 years have been the guys who don't play or who play lesser minutes. It's never been one of the starters.
Yeah.
Not one starter. Mm-hmm. It was never, like whoever we talking about at guard, it wasn't Lonzo, it wasn't Bledsoe, it wasn't Brandon, it's not been Zion, it wasn't Jonas's job. Who among the starters has been the guy over 7 years who has said, I'm holding everybody accountable because I'm doing my job. And we got to do, y'all, I'm doing mine, you got to do yours. Who is that guy? And there isn't in that building. And until you get that guy, you ain't gonna win nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I remember it might have been last year, or it could have been the year before, talking about Herb Jones being the leader of this team. And for some, it was like, yeah, it makes sense. People are gonna listen to the guy that comes in, does his job, is all about the game, and is gonna provide you something on both sides of the floor, and is a lead by example kind of dude. So if he does end up speaking, everyone's gonna listen. But then you look up the totem pole there, and there's CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, and Zion Williamson, and you're like, nah, they're the ones that gotta say something. Like, it's good to hear from Herb, but the people that need to be driving the ship are the ones that's getting paid the most money, have the most responsibility, and have the basketball in their hands late to close games. And yeah, man, I mean, this, you needed it to be Zion, for years. You needed to be Zion, for this year. And if it's not, it should or supposed to be Trey Murphy. It's cool, dog, to be liked. That's great, bro. It's awesome to be well liked. It's cool to be funny. It's cool to have a great personality. But let me tell you something about leadership. Like, you gotta be a jerk sometimes, bro. You gotta make tough decisions. You gotta hurt feelings. I ain't saying you gotta, you gotta do it in an extreme manner, but you gotta be critical. Critical of yourself, critical of others. That's what this is. And with Trey, it's like, it feels as if he's almost waiting for someone to tell him that, like, this is his team. And that just don't happen, bro. Unfortunately, I think of like Amin Thompson last year. You think Amin was waiting around when he stepped up and was taking over the Rockets last year before everyone was like, oh shit, he might be the best player on this? No. He did that. He did that by himself. He did that with his action, with his play, with winning, and his personality. He did that. And man, with Trey, as much of a good basketball player he is, I used to talk to, and you had the same conversations with his dad. Shout out to Kenny. And about sometimes Trey's just too nice. Kenny would always say, I wish he was just a little bit more like me. I don't know if it would always work. He might be in more trouble, but I wish he was a little bit more like me, because that's what this team needs. And Trey just so happens, I asked you this a couple shows ago, and everybody agreed, Trey's the only person on this team that can score from anywhere on the floor. Mm-hmm. But to your point earlier as well, there's so many lapses on the other side of the floor defensively. He leaves himself open for criticism, So it's just, it's tough right now with the spot that the team is in right now, because previous years it was Najee Marshall, it was Herb Jones, it was Larry Nance, it was CJ in spurts. And it's like the guy that you needed to actually be, it just aren't consistently that for whatever reason.
You removed all the impediments for Zion. You took everything, any excuse that he could have, and we said you had to, at some point, you had to push him in the deep end and see if he could swim. You did that, and he didn't. He is sunk. He has not lived up to that challenge. And like you said, for Trey, the thing that bothers me about this team is it just feels like they can only play well when the vibes are good. Like they can only play well when they're laughing and smiling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you don't ever see them play well with a sense of we're going to destroy the other team tonight. Like we coming out here, this is the game that we're imposing, which is what they should have done tonight. They should have imposed their will tonight on a team that's coming in, missing their entire front line, basically. You had to come out and dominate these guys and show them that you were coming off Orlando. Hey, we played 3 good quarters. We're going to put it back together when we get home. And they did not assert themselves that way. And that's the thing is you see it's like when they get it going, and every team is going to go on a run. Like you've heard this your whole life. Everyone in the NBA goes on a run. So if that happens, then they're fine. They're having a great time. They slapping each other. Everybody's laughing and stuff. And then when it gets hard again, when the game gets difficult again, then they all of a sudden they go back into this fractured way of playing where the ball stops moving and they see a zone defense and they're like, what do we do here? The balls are staying at the top of the key against the zone. It's like as soon as it gets difficult, the team just breaks apart.
And you can't be front runners, man. And the thing is, that's where that person that is assertive and that has the talent to match that assertiveness matters. Jose, I mean, I've been guilty of it as well, in past years. It's like, yeah, you want to see a little bit less of Jose. But sometimes you look up and you say nobody else is gonna know, care, or want to have the balls to make the right play that needs to be made in the moment than him. And in some respects, the same with Herb. And look, different perspectives matter. It's the perspective from the guard that's coming off the bench, is playing 20-25 minutes a game, getting paid less than $10 million a year, ain't the same with a dude that's getting paid 30. It's not. But back to Trey Murphy and this comment, Chris. Right, it's time. Trey is confident enough, smart enough, talented enough to be that asshole. And I can promise you this, bro. Nobody's gonna stop Trey from taking on that mantle and being assertive and taking over this franchise. And
They're begging for somebody to do it.
Yeah. And why not him? And it's like, yeah, man. I mean, now, Trey's 25, man. I mean, we no longer talking about a dude that's not supposed to be here. We're no longer talking about the guy that's supposed to be at Rice. I get everything around him that may have been fucked up. I get the coach, the culture, the history, whatever you feel about the front office, the coaching, the players that whether it's Zion or whether it's Brandon in past years or CJ, whoever got in the way is getting in the way now or got in the way in previous years. I get all that. I get all the excuses. Some are valid and some no one really cares about that are there. I'll give you bail for a lot of them, Trey. But at this point where this season is going, and it's clear that it feels as if Zion if he hasn't plateaued for whatever reason, his game is not getting better and yours is, and you have the personality, and you're the guy that you're the guy that you're the vibrant personality, you're the one that seems to have a lot of traits that could make a good leader, you're the guy that some of the rookies look to anyway. You're the dude that, that's been in slam dunk contests, that will be an all-star at some point, has all the connections around the league. You, not DeJounte Murray from last year that came in, they got traded for, and we were talking about, he has to be, he's going to be the leader. No, it's not his responsibility. It's not his responsibility. It's not CJ's. It's not Brand. All these guys are gone. And it's not these rookies. It may be their job at some point. It ain't Herb Jones. Why not you? That's how our culture is really changed. It don't change by accident. It don't change by happenstance. You don't fall into it. You don't look into it. The right person with the right skill set and the right cachet makes it happen. And I think it's time for him to take that a little bit more seriously. And I think, similar to this comment, he's the kind of guy that would have to do it, or that could do it. You just got to be a jerk sometimes.
I mean, look, I think we would agree that Trey is not a number one guy, that he's not the guy to lead you to a championship. You got to be an all NBA player to do that, a top 10 player in the league. That's not his future. But he can be a consistent, fringe all-star level player year in and year out. I mean, you're seeing the kind of stats that he's putting up these last 4 games in particular, but since December 1st, he's putting up numbers that elite players. He's shooting over 50%. He's shooting 40% from 3. He's shooting at just about 90% from the free throw line. He's giving you 7 assists a night. He's scoring 24, 25 points every night. So he's giving you the consistent offensive production. Career best numbers across the board. But we keep talking about, players got to evolve. What's the next step for Trey? Because now you've proven that you can score in the league on a nightly basis. Everybody's convinced of that. Can you be impactful now? That's the next step for Trey. We understand what you can do, but now can you impact winning? And I think that's the part. It's got to be, as you said, he's got to assume that mindset and then start playing that way. He's got to play as if none of these other guys are going to be there. Like, that's literally the way he has to look at that. That Zion's not going to be here. That Poole's not going to be here. That DeJounte's not going to be here. My voice has to step forward. And that, somebody's got to step into that void, because we know it's not about winning. We know it's not about the playoffs at this stage. But what are you telling these kids for next year? What are you setting the tone for yourself, for your career? Are you going to start proving? Because the defensive stuff is starting to get glaring with Trey right now. And for a while it wasn't. But right now there are points in the game where it gets glaring. His lack of effort defensively. He has the voice. Like you said, he's not the number one. I don't want anybody to get confused with we're saying Trey's number one. But we're saying is he can be an impactful voice in the locker room. Scottie Pippen wasn't the number one for the Bulls, but if Scottie said something, you're gonna listen to Scottie, right? If Joe Dumars ain't the number one in Detroit, but if Joe said something or if Lambeer said something, because you knew the commitment on both sides of the ball was there. You knew that when it was time not to make mistakes, they weren't going to make mistakes. And that's the next level of accountability that Trey has to get to. You cannot just get the points. You can't just be the guy who gets the highlights. Now you've got to be the guy who impacts winning.
Yeah. I mean, correct. Reminds me of when David Griffin first got to New Orleans. I remember him talking about Drew Holiday, and saying how, he feels like Drew was waiting for permission to lead and to do certain things. And I'm like, it almost sounds disrespectful to Drew for you to counter what Griffin is saying, but it's wrong. Because leaders, when you take a hold of something, you're not waiting for permission. You just step in and do it. Because most people don't want to lead. Most people don't want the responsibility that comes with the criticism and or the success. It's a fear that's involved with that, which is why we don't have a ton of great leaders. We don't. They're hard to find. Because it's something within somebody that just says, okay, I know exactly what to do here. I know how to organize it. I know how to do it myself, and I know how to tell you to do it. Everybody ain't gifted at that, and that's fine. But Drew in his own way has proven over time he has leadership qualities, and he is a leader. He's not the leader, similar to this Trey Murphy conversation. Trey isn't the guy. He's not, he may not be, if he is a leader on this team, he may not be the elite, but when you are looking for something, what's the bit from Eddie Murphy or from Raw? If you starving and somebody throw you a cracker, like, God damn, listen, the best I ever, like, when you have nothing, when you don't have leadership right now, when DeAndre Jordan, who is not playing, is providing some of the best leadership, you have an issue. And we are no longer talking about somebody in Trey that's a third-year player, second-year player, first-year player. We're not talking about that anymore now. A lot of the guys he came into the league on this team are gone or in different places. He's not going anywhere. I want everybody to know something right now. I don't care what you read. I don't care how much people want him. I don't care how much Golden State wants him. You're going to hear that about 5 more times before the trade deadline. I don't care. He will not be traded before this deadline. It's not happening. It's not happening. So you are going to be here. Huh?
You're not going to give up a 50, 40, 90 player. Like, you just don't do that. You've got Trey can play with anybody. Like, that's the thing, is he can play with any team is going to say, yeah, we want that guy who shoots 50, 40, 90. Like, you're nobody that you're trading him to. If he goes to Golden State, he's not going to be the guy. Like, they count on to be the guy, but they count on they can pair him with their next guy. That he's going to make it work. And that's the whole thing is, but a lot of these things is what we've talked about. It's why we said at one point that it might be smarter to bring Fears off the bench. Because to start games, when we talk about the leadership and the energy, those things that you talk about with Jose, again, you're not asking for 30 Jose minutes. You're not asking for 30 Jose minutes. But to start the game, knowing that you have to get off to a good start every night, knowing that defensively you have to be, set a tone, knowing that you can't turn the ball over. Give me those first 4 or 5 minutes with Jose. Let the team get settled in. Let me make sure Trey got shots. Let me make sure Zion's got shots. Let me make sure, Queen gets a couple of early touches so he can score before he starts passing. You know what I mean? Like, those are things that Jose will think about that Jeremiah just isn't processing at this stage. That's not what he's seeing. So, to me, even if you gave the same amount of minutes, if you were just giving Jose 18 minutes a night, 20 minutes, that's still 5 minutes a quarter. That's it. That's all we're talking about. And then you can still give Jeremiah those other 28 to 30 minutes that you want to have at that spot. But to me, it just these little things, and it doesn't feel like this is a Borrego decision at this point. Like you're stuck with starting Queen and Fears the rest of the season. That's how it's going to go unless they get hurt. But I think if you were trying to be better at winning, ultimately, then I would start Jose. That would be more likely to me, just to pick up the defense that little bit, because the defense has to be at least mediocre. You can't give up 120 every night. I think they're now 3-18 when they give up 120 this season. I think they're 1 and whatever when they give up 49% shooting. They won one game this season when they give it up 49. They gave up 49 tonight.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on, look, as long as Jeremiah Fears is on this team, and I look, I'm not as high on Jeremiah on his ceiling as maybe some are, but I'm gonna support his success and him, his evolution and his progress as long as he is a Pelican. Because there are some things that he has that you can't teach. The intensity, that look in his eyes, they're like, it's a cliche now. Literally, he's not scared. There is no fear there. He's been ahead of the curve every stop since he's been playing basketball, dating back to high school. It's who he's been. The youngest freshman in college last year, or second youngest, whatever it was, didn't blink. Led an Oklahoma team much further than they were supposed to go. Youngest rookie, I believe, in the NBA this year, when a lot of guys traditionally his age do not play right away, either see the G League or see the end of the bench, because we're trying to teach you how to be an adult, sir. We want you to learn behind others, and then eventually you're too young to play around all these grown men. Not Jeremiah's problem. Jeremiah doesn't look like he's overmatched from that perspective. But when we're talking about being a point guard, and when we're talking about what ultimately that means and getting the best out of him, it's like you mentioned, it's here. I think he's smart, but it's like he's being in a like you are telling someone who is used to being a hired gun, to kind of take a step back and give everybody else weapons. That's gonna take time, because I've been doing this. Got me to the NBA. My ability to score, my ability to get downhill, my strength, my fearlessness. That's what's worked for me. Now I'm here, and I can do some of that, and some of this other stuff, the shooting and all the rest of those things will come. The work, he'll gain weight and all those things. That stuff will come. But if he's ultimately going to become, I think, Grub, what we want him to be, the best version, it's going to have to be that next level of realizing I have to find ways to get every single person and keep every single person that's around me engaged and involved, because they are not, I don't care who you are. Nobody wants to sit around and watch somebody get buckets and cook all night, and no one wants to see it. Eventually, that gets old with people. If you're not winning, it gets old. Look at Cam Thomas. A talented bucket. Really good at what he does. It gets old when you can't win. When you are that skilled and that talented, these other guys, these other professionals want to see that basketball as well. And I know Fears can pass the ball. I've seen him do it. But I think a different perspective, whether it be him being off the bench, whether that's him starting, whether that's missing a few games, whatever it is, to understand, like, you're going to get 15 points more than likely a night as long as you want to the rest of your career. But your challenge isn't your ability to score, because when your shot gets there, you're going to get buckets just off of your ability to handle that ball and people having to play you different because you can shoot the ball. Jeremiah has to think down the line now. He got to start today thinking about, all right, well, when, like, what do I want this shit to look like when I'm 21 or I'm 22? If I'm doing this today, Grub, if I can score 15 points being 19, right now with ease and being an okay shooter when I was supposed to be horrendous, I'm not gonna have problems 2 years from now. I need to be working on my ability to move this ball. I need to be able to use my scoring to get others to use the attention I'm getting. Because what do you think this on Sky Reports? Oh, well, look, he gonna shoot them out the game. So that's what I want for him. And I don't know if it's him coming off the bench or not, Grub. But whatever it is that's gonna get him thinking just a little different now, that's what I want. Because that leadership ability, that ability to turn 4 or 5 assists in a 7 or 8, that's where I think his game goes into a different level, to where people are comparing him to like Darius Garland, where I don't think that they were even like to me, even in Darius's rookie year, he didn't play with the kind of talent that Fears is playing with right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even then he was a better passer than Fears is showing some nights right now. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I think like the thing that you want for any player, I think the word that you want for guys, especially as they understand themselves in their careers, is awareness. And I think when you look at the word awareness, I was having this conversation with somebody. I was like, it's a powerful and it's a dangerous thing, because when you have awareness, what happens is you have responsibility now, because you have to change once you have awareness. You understand what you are and are not capable of. You understand what others are and are not capable of. You understand what the mission is and the vision for what you're trying to accomplish. So when you see these young guys come in the league, you cannot have awareness, because you're trying to gauge with just the speed of things. So just even in having good games is an achievement of itself. Just settling down as a rookie in this league and having good games is an achievement. But understanding, again, that it's not just playing basketball anymore. Like, there's a lot of dudes out here that can play basketball. This is the NBA. This is a playing winning basketball. This is a winning championships. This is the pursuit of being. You say you want to be the greatest point guard of all time. You want to be one of those two. Then you have to have awareness. You have to have awareness. You have to know those situational decisions that he has to make as the leader with the ball in his hands the most. And whether it's him or Queen, that's your next step. If you want to have all the highlights and you want to throw the lobs and stuff, okay, what's step 2 for me? Because you've shown you can play at this level. That's what you get. Okay, that part is done. Check that off the box. But can you stay at this level? And can you get to a higher level and keep going up? And I think that's the thing for a lot of these guys, is that if they the Pelicans play games like everybody's cool to have a job. Like, we're in the NBA. And we're here to put on a show. And we're here to put on a show for you tonight, folks. Thank you. No, this is business. And the job is to win. The job is to win. And that's the thing, is when you watch the Pelicans, you don't see 12 guys that are here to win. A lot of them there to play basketball.
Yeah, and I don't want people to, listen to some of the things that are saying right now. Like I it's like when you have anything like even close to critical to say about one of these guys, it looks as if you are, you're talking down to him, or you don't think that. I think what Fears has done, all things considered, it's pretty incredible. I didn't expect him to play this much this early, and if I did, I didn't expect even what he's done. So that just continues to show that he's someone that picks up things very quickly, and he's someone that is always going to be ahead of the curve. And it takes a lot of work, and you see the amount of time he spends with the game. So you got some special elements right there in just the dude. You know what I mean? And just a basketball player, someone who really cares about the game right now. I just think, we're looking at it from a perspective of, this year's a wash. This year's over with.
Mm-hmm.
You are building blocks towards next year and the year after that. And there are things that not just Fears, Queen can do as well, that you know, lead to better things towards a better, a better future. And what some of the decisions that this team hopefully makes towards them going forward. Queen, whoever I forgot who I think it was an assistant coach that had a quote that mentioned that anything that Fears has, I'm sorry, any game that Dairy Queen that doesn't finish with 10 rebounds is it's a problem. He should easily have that a night. He seems to have those same sentiments. The talks about him maybe not really wanting to play center, which you would think, I'm used to it being the opposite. Him maybe enjoying being the 4, because if the talks about his motor and him being lazy or as rapid as they are, and sometimes you can see him kind of dig back into that bag. Maturity from a maturity perspective, but it's a lot of responsibility that comes with being a center, bro. So that tells me that somebody who wants it, now it's just about applying. It's the little things, the same things it was for Zion, applying the little things that go with that every single night. Not taking plays off defensively, not pouting when you don't get the basketball, not pouting when you don't get the call, not taking a hero shot because you haven't seen the basketball in 4 or 5 possessions in a row, not sulking, all the body language, all those things. You get a chance to change that earlier. As far as I'm concerned, you're getting an early start on next season, and they are just things that if you want these players to bloom and become their best, I think for this team and franchise, you got to be thinking about what can you do right now to help accelerate that versus waiting. What can you do? And if it was for Fears, starting him, taking him off the bench, cool. If it's putting lineups that best support their strengths and their weaknesses, cool. But that's what you need to see more of them, not just with Fears, with Queen as well.
The big difficulty for Fears, and it's the guards as a whole, because whenever you put Fears in, you have to put somebody who can defend next to him, because he's such a poor defender at this stage. I mean, and look, he's a 19-year-old kid. Like, again, there are certain things we understand, but like I said, you have to state what they are, and he's just not a good defender at this stage. And we've seen lately with Queen, like that fourth quarter, the defensive rating with Queen on the floor, and I got to give Schmidt credit for pointing that out. The Pelicans had a 149 defensive rating with Queen on the floor in the fourth quarter against the Magic. If you have those things, like you said, then your lineup construction has to be better. And you can't put, and that's what makes it so difficult, because you can't play Queen with a ton of minutes with Zion, because neither one of them defends particularly well. So you put a lot of pressure on Bay to cover for them. You can't necessarily put Trey and Fears together in the backcourt, because that doesn't necessarily work defensively. You can't put Poole and Fears together. You can't put Jose and Poole together. It's like all these there's no good combinations. So you're trying to do the least amount of damage when you put together guys on the defensive end, which does not vibe with how they play on the offensive end. I think that just there are no good options. And that at the two most important areas, like the defense is set up the middle, no matter what sport, and your center and your point guard are your worst defenders. And it's every night. And you see it every night. Who's beating the Pelicans? Guards and centers. Anthony Black did it in Orlando. Goga Batadze comes off the bench, gives you 14 and 13. You know what I'm saying? Every night, it's point guards and centers beating the Pelicans.
And even offensively, you run into those same issues, those same, problems when we're talking about fit and combinations that you want, because, look, I mean, you got guys, with Fears and Queen who maybe next year or a year after that, they would ideally fit even better with Zion, because if they're better shooters, closeouts will look a little bit different, and you throw their ability to both handle the basketball and or them making the right play and swinging the basketball into sets when Zion does decide to kick it out to a corner or whatever the case. That changes everything, because they get a chance to touch the basketball that way as well and make plays. But currently right now, neither of them are really great shooting threats right now. They're simply not that. So because of that, no one's caring no one's caring about hugging them in a corner, and they're gonna treat Zion the same way that they've been treating him the past 6 or 7 years when he's driving. But I mean, you have to play him. If you put the ball in Queen's hands, you're still talking about a rookie that sometimes struggle with his ability to take care of the basketball and not making too flashy of a play, or not over dribbling and running you into a bad shot or a low, shot clock, scenario. Similar with Fears. How many times do we see Fears get the ball and look, like, should I go or not? And then just say, fuck it. I'll just, I'll dribble. So same with him. Needs the basketball, but everyone else, the other 4 guys on the floor, aren't engaged because they know right now it's a high probability they may not see it back right now. They're unsure if they're going to see the basketball. I don't know if Fierce is making a play for Mio himself, but odds are right now Fierce is going to get his, which, hey, you expect that. You should expect that. I think this is what comes with being a rookie and being a rookie guard. But then, like you said, defensively, man, I mean, Fierce is 6'2". He may not ever be a good defensive guard. But when you are under 6'4", and we've said this so many times, when you are under 6'4" in this league and you are a guard, you have to have something that separates you. For him, we know it's his ability to dribble the basketball and create off the move. A consistent jumper with that is going to take that to another level, and then we'll get to see, okay, what exactly can he maximize his game to? But he also can't be fooled on defense. And like you mentioned, okay, yeah, Fears and Poole sounded great, or not great, but in the beginning of the year, it sounded like something that you could look at because you need the shooting, right? And the team desperately needs the shooting. But Poole also hasn't defended well this year. Poole also has had his issues with taking care of the ball and making the right decision. So what exactly do? You can't put a lumbering big next to Queen. You don't have anyone that can protect the rim, so you need a spacer. You say, well, no, okay, well, what do I do with Zion? Zion gonna be the 3? No, Zion. If I close with Queen, Zion's gonna be the 4. Trey's gonna be next to him, and we're gonna keep going and going. So back to our conversations earlier about roster construction. Like, this got to be the last year, Grub, that we're having some of these conversations, because some of the things that they need don't cost a whole bunch of money and aren't going to be that hard for them to find. They just have to want to go and do it. We cannot go on to another year talking about them not having a stretch 5, not talking about them not even looking for someone who can protect the rim, unless you think Yves Missi is going to ultimately be that person as he continues to learn about the game of basketball on both sides of the floor. And shooting in general, not streaky shooters, shooting specialists. You don't have any. You don't have somebody whose lone job is just to come in and knock down shots. You don't even have a Simone Fontecchio, let alone a Duncan Robinson. Like, you don't have these guys. Oh, you don't have a Sam Merrill. You don't have a Sam Hauser.
You have a Hauser. You ain't got no Peyton Pritchard. You
need them in this, and especially in this league, you need them. They cannot go another year without. I don't care if they move Herb Jones, or when they move Herb Jones, when they move Jose Alvarado, Sadiq Bey, so on and so forth. Yeah, you're gonna be looking for draft capital to get back into the draft next year, or future draft picks or whatever. But there are things that this team has been missing for, it feels like, a decade now, and it can't go another year without
it. No, I mean, you've got to build, like, you got to have length. You got to have somebody who can stabilize your backcourt. You got to have some shooters, and like you say, it's also mindset too. Like, you have to have guys who are committed to doing what it takes to win the game, and like adapting to that identity every night. You have to be consistent. And like tonight again, like, just when you look at the distribution of shots, like, it doesn't make any sense. Why is it so hard on a nightly basis to get guys to take 3-point shots for this team. Like, again, it doesn't have to be 40. They don't have to be 40 and 50 every night, but it seems like it's just a struggle. It's just a struggle to even generate those shots that other teams seem to get with ease. Like, that's the thing, is like the rest of the league, when anybody comes to New Orleans or when the Pelicans play anybody, all of a sudden they're able to get whatever shot that they want. And there's a guy or two who you don't expect. Like tonight it was Watson. There's always a guy. There's Tristan da Silva in Orlando. You know what I mean? Like there's always a guy, and the Pelicans don't ever have those moments. And I said before the year that I needed the Pelicans' top 3 shooters to average 3-point shooters to average somewhere around 22 threes per game. And like tonight was one of their best, and you got 16. I mean, they both shot 8. You didn't. There's nobody else. Bay is shooting like what 33% from 3 this year, not 37, not 38. He's shooting. He's a middling 3-point shooter. Who else do you have to turn to? Because even Fears has gone to the point where he's not really taking them unless he's taking walk-up threes. Like he doesn't catch and shoot threes. He doesn't get them off the in the corners. His are all walk-up threes, so he's not taking them either. And it's. I don't understand them. I don't understand how their aggression waxes and wanes so much over the course of a game. Like, how does Derek Queen as the center only take 8 shots or 6 shots or 9 shots a night? I just don't understand it. It just, and I know you could see nights tonight that there's times when it frustrates Borrego a lot. It's frustrating him a lot, and it just goes back to the roster construction. It was never a good roster. We said it before the year, and everybody kept saying it's how talented it was. It's not about talent. It's not about athleticism. It's about fit. And it didn't fit then. It doesn't fit now. And the holes that exist on this roster, you can't repair. So all you're going to do is just hope that you can have good offensive nights the rest of the season, because the defense isn't going to get any better. You just have to hope that you're getting good, consistent offensive nights.
Yeah, that's it, because something else that it lacks is balance. And to have true balance, you need glue. You need more guys, and more guys that are good in those roles. Like Micah Peavy has an idea of what a glue guy can be, but he can't shoot. So you can only have him out there for so long. It doesn't matter how many good backdoor cuts he makes, or how good of a defender he is, or how good of an underrated passer he is from that position. It doesn't matter when you can't shoot the ball and teams are daring you to shoot, because they'll give you as many threes as you want to ultimately take. So and that that was one of the things when they went on that 5-game winning streak in December that worked. They were able to make balance with the parts that they had by bringing Zion off the bench. Like that was the key. I do not believe that was a coincidence that it worked that well, because it simplified everything. You didn't have to worry about how many players needed the ball and needed their ISO looks and their opportunities and needed this and needed that. No, it brought balance. Herb Jones brings balance. Jose Alvarado, like him or not, love him or not, brings balance. And you need more guys also, like, with that mentality and that mindset of what it means to bring balance, not versus you can only have so many guys like, I'm going to make this play, versus the guys that know I have to make this play. Like, I have to wait for this play to be made for me. Peyton Watson is one of those guys. He's going to do all the different things for them. He brings them balance. He scored 31 points tonight, but similar to in the game against the Pelicans earlier. It's not like you're running shit up for Peyton Watson. Peyton Watson is, he's getting his points when they're created for him, or off of the 50-50 plays, that kind of stuff. Pickett, specialist, what he's there for. Jones, what he's there for, to defend and take some perimeter shots. That's what he's there for. Specialist. Tim Hardaway Jr., he's been doing it for years now, shooting the basketball. Bruce Brown, glue guy. They got a bunch of these guys that just have defined roles, and their games represent that. Like,
and none of those guys are special players.
No, and they're not special talents. They're not. So You look at this box score, you look at this game and tell me how the Denver Nuggets won. It's clear as day. It's clear. Sometimes less is more in this league. It just is.
Those are guys
it's
who
been that way for years.
They understand their jobs and they do their job. Nobody out there, nobody on the Nuggets night tonight tried to do something they're not capable of. Nobody say, I'm gonna be the guy, like, because the other fellas ain't here tonight, I'm gonna be the one to do it. The shots came to who they came to. And the shots came to Watson, so he took the shots. And we saw that when Boston came to town undermanned, right? When the Celtics came to town undermanned, again, they didn't force anything. They didn't try to make things happen. They took advantage of what was available. And the Pelicans are not suited to do that. They just cannot look at the game and on their own figure out where their advantages are. On their own figure out who's got the hot hand. They have to be told everything. And that just makes it so difficult. It just makes it really unfortunate for a team when any coach, you have to handhold this team to get them to do things because they don't see it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they just don't see it. They have to be like the conditions. It's like an experiment. The conditions have to be perfect for the Pelicans to win. It has to be perfect. If something in the experiment isn't right, it's going to blow up. And every night you're just waiting for that one thing to mess up the experiment.
All right, man. Well, we're going to get to our star questions and get you guys out of here, man. The Pelicans have a back-to-back. For those of you that don't know, they play Brooklyn tomorrow night in the city. So, I mean, look, that's
MPJ.
I mean, if you want the Pelicans to look in the mirror, I mean, all the young talent that the Nets have, depending on who's available, the Cam Johnsons of the world, shout out to our guy. I got Ivory. I see, Danny Wolf, Denham. I mean, there's a few guys from Claxton to they have a bunch of players, a bunch of I won't call them misfits, but they had a stretch to end December of them playing really good basketball. I think that they won more games than they lost in December, and now they're back to kind of being a bad team again. But yeah, I mean, another game that the Pelicans should ultimately win. But we'll see ultimately how Brooklyn plays versus how the Pelicans continue to play and lose games in the second halves or in the fourth quarter. Let's go here. Cajun Curveball. Appreciate the 20 piece, man. Zion was disgusting tonight. We peed down our leg after the 4-minute mark. I don't think I can do it anymore, y'all. This team couldn't finish it if it had a corn star in the All right, I gotta move on. We passed on Murray for Hield. Cajun out. Cajun Curveball again. Appreciate it. 2 piece. Pelicans drafted Buddy Hield over Jamal Murray. See, I always hate these because even if you're right, I'm not sure if Jamal Murray would have been Jamal Murray here. Just not sure.
You gotta remember too, the situation certainly was good for Jamal Murray, but let's not act like Buddy was trash. Like, this is the dude who was leading, like he was second to Steph Curry in total made threes. He's done what he came out of college to do. They said he was gonna be a shooter. The man's been a shooter. Jamal Murray, if he didn't get those playoff opportunities, there was a lot of years where we were like, he never averaged 20 a game. You know what I'm saying? Like, it took him a long time to get to 20 a game for season average. So let's be fair about Buddy. Let's not hurt Buddy like that. And remember, Buddy's leaving got you Boogie, and you're always happy to have Boogie. So let's not be bad at Buddy.
Dinola 60. Zion looks like he has low confidence when it comes to the fourth quarter.
Zion look like he's just. It doesn't matter the quarter to me. It's like when he gets knocked down or whatever, he's looking to the refs. When it's somebody gets past him, it's defensively, we've seen it. The lack of boxing out, it just, none of it looks right. It doesn't, like, even just going to last year, that's the thing that I just go to. I don't have to go back to 5 years ago. just last year. They were bad last year. Right? They were, but he didn't look bad.
Yeah.
He looked better than everybody else. It still looked like he was dominant. And you were saying, like, man, he could have played more games last year. They could have won more games if he played more games last year. And then this year, not one night this season, I can't remember a single game this season where you said he looks like the best player in the game. Like, there were times last year where you saw he could look like the best player in the game.
Yeah.
Like, that was still on the table. We were still saying, like, if he reaches his potential, he could still be an all-NBA performer. I don't see none of that this year. No matter what quarter, no matter what opponent, I don't see any of it.
Yeah, I think he had a stretch where he was, to start the month, specifically to end the month, once he was back in the starting lineup, to where we started seeing him 30, 32. I think one of them he had 39. But Zion at his best, when he was dominating games, it wasn't just the scoring. It was the distribution of the basketball, it was the rebound. And like last year, yeah, he looked dominant, but he was flirting with triple doubles a lot of nights. You saw him getting multiple stocks. You see him get 2 steals, a block, 3 steals. Like, we were talking about that every night. He was taking over games in a lot of different ways. This year, even when he's had good scoring outputs, something's missing. Something's missing. And it's just clear. Like, you watch the end of this game tonight, just so happened to be out there. Like, it just didn't. And I don't know if it's necessarily low confidence, but the only thing I can hope to, man, whether, for the rest of Zion's career, man, whether it's no matter how many years he has in New Orleans or he goes somewhere else, I really hope he looks in the mirror at some point, or someone forces him to look in the mirror to realize that you can't have another year where you don't desperately work to expand your game. You can't, because so many things could be much easier if you did. Some of these things we talk about defensively would be forgiven a little bit more if you shot more threes, if you were even a little bit more perimeter or jump shot based, if you took more of them, if you were able to impact the game in other areas there from the perimeter that didn't just like that god-awful shot chart that either you or Ross put up a few weeks ago where everything was in the paint. All of it was in the paint. Teams are daring or begging you to shoot this jumper and you won't do it. It's not even an afterthought. So it doesn't matter how good your running game is. Like this, it's like, football, man. Like you can be a great runner, an exceptional runner. If you can't pass protect or you can't catch out the backfield in today's world, you're limited. You're limited. That's just what it is. And in some respects, it's always been that way. So eventually, people are gonna stop caring how good you are going left. It's going to get to a point to where, all right, okay, guys, let him get his 20-25. It's not gonna impact the game. No matter. He's not gonna get the foul calls. And when he does get to the line, he's only gonna make 70% of them. If that. So yeah, so we're not being hurt there. So what exactly is he doing? We'll be able to eat off him defensively. Let him get his. And that's the dangerous thing for him that I don't think has ever been even in conversation, because for Zion for so long, at his best, when he was in his best shape, could impact the game in so many different areas.
It's just not there.
Yep. It's not there. Cajun Curveball again, the 5-piece, man. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate all of y'all, man, that gave us the whole working money, man. Like, for real. We really do. Trey might be that personality. He don't look like the type of guy that want to be an assertive teammate when you are on a 10-win team through 40 games. Hey, man.
They ain't got 10 wins yet. You jumping the gun. They ain't got that 10th one yet.
Just give them
wins. They call them a 10-win team. Ain't no guarantees they go get that 10.
Oh, man. Well, look, dog. That's pretty much the end of this show, man. We will see y'all tomorrow. And look, for some of us, it's questionable that you will see tomorrow, but hopefully the Pelicans can put together a win and we can talk something that just doesn't involve sadness or this lack of effort. It just pops up. Lack of effort. Appreciate you, Mark Wood. So, but yeah, man, for myself, for Grub, we will holler at y'all tomorrow. Please post game. Y'all, please go ahead and leave comments. Subscribe to the show. Subscribe to Grub Show to post up 6 p.m. on what days, Grub?
And now it's been Mondays, and then I've been stepping in to do these post games. So we've been doing it Mondays. So check it out.
All right, guys. Holler at y'all tomorrow.